Gotham Season 2, Episode 5, Scarification. Definitely a great episode. I think, this episode, especially by the end, this episode had me thinking, I'm really loving what they're doing. Like, ever since they killed Jerome off, it was like, okay. Of course, right after that, I was like, how are they going to keep things going that are going to make the show entertaining? And the last episode was pretty fun. And then this episode was just, really, really crazy and entertaining to watch because we had the introduction of Firefly, which is going to continue on into the next episode, which is kind of cool. We got just Penguin working his way with Theo and trying to figure out how do I take this guy down was definitely amazing. Like, we get this crazy backstory about Theo's family and the Waynes, and just they actually got super gory in this episode, which was surprising. I guess I can't say super gory, but definitely more gory than we've ever seen them do. They actually do a whole fake hand and everything getting chopped off. So that was pretty cool. We get the whole history of the families, and the Waynes were the most powerful, and all of this stuff that Theo is doing is to basically, which we all knew, it was to kind of get his family back in power. And so he has people, which we find out at the end, he has family members kind of coming into town, and their plan is to take out Bruce, because that's what happened in the past. This blade was used to cut off the arm of one of his ancestors, Theo's ancestors, and it was basically a Wayne that did it, and that's not good enough. Like, he has to get revenge. He's going to take out the one remaining Wayne, and that's his plan. They're going to kidnap Bruce and I guess kill him and use the knife to do it, and that'll be their ultimate revenge, is take them down. They have the Pyro family setting all these places on fire. The one kid who put the C4 in his pants, that was a crazy scene. That was the first thing in this episode where I was like, holy crap. Because, first off, we get to see a flat-out underground, illegal arms depot. It was like the Costco of grenades and fire. He was walking around, and they even had a PA system. It was I think it was called the Marrow, if I remember right. And they're going around, and this little kid's going around, and it's oh, he picks up a stick of C4s, the 150. They start off with this guy paying the owner, and he's he gives them money. It's it's a 10% surcharge on soiled bills and stuff. It's thank you for your service. And this guy has just grenades and all sorts of crazy stuff. They had a rocket launcher. We find out it came from this depot. They have all sorts of insane stuff, and I thought that was really funny because it was the ultimate underground. It's not even really underground. I mean, you can't have a depot underground. It was seriously the Costco of guns, grenades, and anything that blows up. So that was really funny just to begin with. And then this kid taking off and having the C4 in his pants, when he gets caught, I was okay. The first thing that came to mind was they can't shoot him because he's going to blow up if they shoot at him. Of course, they didn't know that. And he clearly wasn't thinking, so he turns around, and then they just riddle him with bullets. Every time they seem to shoot on somebody, or someone pulls on them and they have to shoot back, they just unload on these people, which I just find really, really funny. And then he's getting shot up, and then it's just boom, and he just explodes. I was wow. They just blew up a kid who had some C4 in his pants. And obviously he wasn't thinking, because the last thing I'm going to do if I got C4, for one, of course you don't want to get shot in general, but when you have C4 on you, or any sort of explosives on your person, the last thing you need to do is get shot at. Because one little thing, oh, I got shot in the arm, no big deal. But he was getting riddled with bullets, he was going to die anyway. But one stray little bullet, and kaboom, and you're gone for good. And just sheer explosion, and that was just a crazy scene. They just blew him up. But it was kind of funny, too. And then we have, Theo's play, where it's he wants to get Jim to endorse him as mayor. He wants him to endorse him as the mayor. He's we can really help each other. Obviously, it's just his plan doing his thing. And I just love the fact that that worked by the end, because Jim's like, I like the guy. I think he could actually be good for the city. And, it's just that he can't really do that. And then by the end of the episode, when we lose one of our strike force members to Firefly, that changes things. It changes the dynamic of where the characters are mentally. And with Theo being there, because he probably knew this was going to happen, like, all these places are burning down, and then of course this happens. I feel like he probably knew that happened before they even got back to the GCPD. The brothers probably relayed the message or something like that, and it's like, someone died. But they probably didn't do that because of what was happening with Penguin and Butch, so he was probably just there waiting for his moment and figure, like, I'll just, wait around. Jim will have something go wrong, and then he'll endorse me because he'll need the support. And that's what happens. He gets his support. He's like, okay, we'll help each other. I promise that you'll have every resource that you need, like every legal means to help save the city. You will have that from me as mayor. So, he gets the handshake and he's smiling and stuff, and then he gets like the evil look, like I got him, plans all coming together. It was pretty cool to see that work for his character, because he's playing a very long game right now. He's playing the game where he has to run for mayor, he has to do elections, he has to have Penguin do all this crap. Like, it's only been 2 episodes, and really, it's simple at this point. Like, him having Penguin go to hire people to burn some buildings down, that's like the easy stuff right now. And there's so much more that he has to do. And this is like really, really, like the long con over everything and everyone in Gotham. And I like that they got this first up. It was actually pretty cool. It was just like, man, this is fun. It was just fun to see him get that win. And it just came as a result of all this insanity. Like, we have, Firefly introduced, which is pretty cool. I was wondering, as soon as she picked up, like, the flamethrower, I'm like, okay, she's probably going to be Firefly, which I thought was cool. For one, because Firefly's normally a guy, so I was like, that's pretty sweet that they made Firefly a girl. But as soon as she picked it up, I was like, she's probably going to be Firefly. And they have her doing all the stuff after, like, the kid dies. They have her do everything. I thought it was like a 3-man team sort of deal. They seemed like they didn't do anything whatsoever. Like, they took the job, and then it was just like, oh, hey, go in and do this. Well, that seemed like that's what it was. They were like, we need an entry person. I thought that was like, okay, they have an entry person, like a point man. That person goes in, unlocks some doors or opens some windows, and then they're all in there. And then every single mission was like, alright, do this, do this, do that, get out of the van, and then that's it. So I was kind of confused. I was like, how is this, like, what they've done all this time? Because it seemed like the little kid couldn't have been the only person that knew how to do anything, it seemed. But apparently that was just how they operated. The kid would go in, the other two wouldn't do anything at all. Or maybe it was just because it was the girl, and they clearly didn't give a crap about her. So I kind of hope that she comes back around and she's sort of in Firefly mode and just destroys both of them. I wouldn't hate that, because they treated her like crap. We get a little bit of backstory on Firefly as well, and I can't remember her actual name, of course, because I wasn't paying any attention to it, to be totally honest. I was like, okay, whatever. These are just some random people. I didn't know that she'd end up being important, but we get a little bit of backstory where it's like they're kind of family, but not really. They're like they're like her stepbrothers, and they treat her like crap. I'm assuming both the guy's father and her mother are gone, because we don't ever see anybody. It's just the 4 of them, and then the 3 of them by the end. So it's like we get a bit of backstory. Selena's really trying to help this girl because they used to be really good friends, and I believe her name was Bridget. I could easily be wrong with that. But they used to be friends, so she really cares about her. And even in the first scene, like, when she gives everyone beers and stuff, and the guy, like, kicks her right in the back of the leg, Selena's like, I don't like this. Like, this is a bunch of crap. And then she goes and talks to her and is like, you can get out of this. And she helps her at the end of the episode. So it's going to be the two of them, which the preview for the next episode looked really exciting, actually. So I'm looking forward to that because it was, Selena helping out Firefly, but Jim knows, like, because they have the footage, Jim knows that it was Selena, and it seems like they're gonna come face to face. Like, he found out where she lived, and he, like, burst through the door, and he has a gun on her. She has, like, a sawed-off shotgun with a bandolier and stuff with slugs on it. So, I'm looking forward to this next episode, because it's gonna be pretty crazy, and this was just, like, the start of something pretty cool, and it was definitely a cool episode, because introduction to Firefly, the stuff with Theo, for me, it was just entertaining. I don't know why it was so entertaining, and I think it was honestly because it kind of came like right after that Penguin scene. But for some reason, when he got the endorsement from Jim, I was like, it was just a good scene to me. It was really fun to watch that because he's working, like I said, this long con on everyone and everything, and this is a great first step for him because he has Jim Gordon behind him endorsing him as mayor. And it was just like, for some reason, that scene just was really powerful to me. I was like, this is a really cool scene to watch him have that very first step. And then, of course, the scene, oh, man, Penguin's final scene with Butch, that was pretty crazy. So he does the paranoia thing. I thought it was real because it kind of played me in the beginning. He seemed like he was paranoid and stuff. Tabitha, whose name I finally remember, she's like, calm down, like, make sure you get this stuff done. You're clearly paranoid. So, of course, Tabitha went back to Theo and told him that. And so, Penguin's like, he wants to take Theo down. He has the blade. He knows a bit about him. He has the history now. And it's like, okay, I want you, Butch, to get information. You get as much information as you can. Rescue my mom. Then we take Theo out. No problems. And he's having him drink. And so when he was doing that, I was like, why is he forcing him to drink? At first I thought it was the paranoia thing. It's like, I thought he had like a serum in there, a truth serum or something like that. And then, he talks about the conditioning, like, and how he's still 100% conditioned. So it wasn't that. Like, that was the test. Like, he didn't need truth serum. He just makes him drink. So he had some drinking, and I'm like, why is he having him drink? And then he goes through the plan and stuff, and he's like, I want you to say that I'm paranoid, you fear for your life, I, threatened you or whatever, and then ask for a job from him. It's like, okay, simple enough. That's a pretty interesting plan, I guess. And so he's going through it, and as soon as Butch asked him, that's a pretty simple play, how are we going to convince him? And then he's like, oh, drink up. After he said that, like, the third time, I was like, he's about to beat. I didn't think he was going to chop his hand off. I thought he was going to beat him, kind of like how he beat the guy in the beginning of the episode who gave him the bad news when they took all the money, when the strike force busted them and took all their money. I thought he was just going to hit him a bunch. And then instead he takes a nice little cleaver and just whacks Butch's, I think it was his left hand off. So that just had me very shocked. Like, he just chopped Butch's hand off, which is insane to me. Like, he chopped his hand off. It really had me gasping. I was just like, I really could not believe that he had just done that. And we don't get to see what happens after that. That's the end for Butch and Penguin in this episode. He chops his hand off, and that's it. So we're going to see him come back in the next episode, and he's going to only have a right hand, and he's going to go, and he's going to convince Theo, like, he's crazy. Like, he's crazy. Please get me a job, or, let me work for you, and stuff like that. And I'm looking forward to it, because I want to see how this plays out. I mean, he has the conditioning, so he can't exactly do or say anything off course from what Penguin told him. But I feel like there's got to be something that can break the conditioning, and this would be it for sure. But it might not. But either way, I'm looking forward to it because he freaking chopped Butch's hand off, and that blew my mind when that happened. That was the craziest thing in this whole episode to me, is that he chopped Butch's hand clean off, and it was just like, wow, he just did that. That was his plan, and he's going really hardcore with this stuff. Like, he's becoming more like the Penguin, which is really awesome because he beat up the guy in the beginning, and I was like, man, he beat that guy up, and he was literally the messenger. It was like, hey, boss, strike. GCPD came in, they found the whatever they were calling that place, got all the money, and he was so pissed off because of his stuff with his mom and like being the subordinate of Theo, which they had a good scene about in the beginning where he's like, thanks for, I'm glad you could see me as friend. And then Theo was just like full on dick mode to Penguin. He was like, oh, that's just a figure of speech. Like, that was really messed up. Like, holy crap. Penguin was feeling a little better, and he's like, that's just a figure of speech. We're not friends. You're my tool. And it was just like, holy crap. He really messed up, pissing Penguin off. So, all that led to that messenger just getting really messed up. And I was like, oh, that really sucks for that guy. But the stuff with Butch, that really surprised me, and I'm looking forward to it. I thought for sure that when they had the guy at the end of the episode in Theo's place, that of course that was actually going to end up being Butch, but it's like this random guy who I assume is actually related to Theo, and he's just, I mean, it seemed like he was a monk, the way he was dressed, but he's a father somewhere within the city. He's at a church, so they're working together. He knows about the knife and stuff, and he's like, oh, it's so sharp after all this time. So there are people within the city. It might just be Theo, Tabitha, and this priest, but there are people within the city that have the Galavan name that come from this old family. So it seems like we might get another sort of weird, crazy war, but there isn't really going to be anyone. There aren't really going to be two sides to this war. It's going to be Theo Galavan and his family, and then Bruce and Alfred, and that's pretty much it. And like, I guess Lucius, because he's on their side a bit, but I don't know. Like, I'm looking forward to what they're expanding upon in this season, and it's actually pretty exciting and very interesting. Like, it's sort of an old family rivalry that is so freaking old. Like, the Waynes pushed this entire family out, and he's like, I'm gonna come back in, and I'm gonna push the Waynes out, which is very easy because there's only one Wayne, and it's a kid right now. Of course, it's gonna fail because it's Gotham, but still interesting, still exciting how that's gonna play out. So I'm looking forward to it. Definitely enjoyed this episode. The most gruesome episode I'm sure we've ever had. They actually showed a guy get his arm chopped off. They had, like, Bunderslaw had his eye taken out, and that was really gross. I was like, what is in this little box? And then they finally show us, and yeah, that was kind of gross. I thought that was a bad move, too. Like, she just left the eye there. I was like, I feel like somehow that would just lead back to, who did what. But I guess since the place burned down, I wasn't really thinking of that at the time. I was just thinking, like, oh, she left that eye there. It's going to get them busted. But then the whole place blows up. So it's like, oh, well, yeah, that doesn't make any, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So I don't know what they did with Bunderslaw. They chopped an eye out. So I'm assuming they still have him because they still have the mayor. He's been missing forever, and they still have him. So now they have Bunderslaw too with one eye, and it's like, are they going to keep him around? Are they going to try to get more information on the Waynes? Which they probably are, because that makes the most sense. But I don't know. I don't know what the real plan is with him, and them still having the mayor is just crazy to me. I constantly forget about the mayor, and then it's like, the mayor's boring. He's been here forever, and I was like, oh yeah, they still have him kidnapped. The whole city just doesn't have a mayor. You think they, at this point, I think in these couple episodes we've had, it had to have been about a week, maybe 2 weeks or something like that, and it seems like there's kind of really no force to push, like, hey, we need like an emergency mayor or something like that, or anything. It seems like the city's just kind of wide open. We still don't technically have, I guess, a chief of police. We have like a commissioner, but we don't have a chief still. So there's some weird positions open, and it's like, screw it. We just got to save Gotham right now. Don't worry about the politics and, filling every position. But enjoyed this episode for sure. I like that. I'm loving that. I'm still excited for the show. Like, this season is definitely really fun so far. surprising, after the whole Jerome thing. This episode definitely, like the last one, I still enjoyed. I was like, okay, they haven't failed, by killing off Jerome. It sucked, but they haven't failed without that character. And then this episode was even better than the last. And I mean, it doesn't have Alfred slapping Selena, but it's still a great episode. Like that, that was just really funny to me. But I want to know what you guys thought about this episode, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And I definitely want to know what you guys thought about our little history lesson with the families. And we got to hear a couple of different names. I believe it was 4 or 5 different families. And of course, the Waynes were the most powerful. But we got a pretty interesting backstories, like real old timey stuff, old clothing and old rules. It was like you were married off and stuff happened, and it was pretty messed up because the guy and the girl, they had feelings for each other, but then she was like, well, no, he pushed himself on me, and that was really messed up. And she got this dude messed up and got his arm chopped off, and then she got his entire family cast out because she lied and was like, oh well, I was supposed to be married off, but I like this guy, so we were together. And then screw him, I didn't make that decision, he did it. So that was kind of messed up. That's very interesting, like how it kind of makes the Waynes the villains a little bit. It kind of it pretty much makes everyone's villain. Every single other family is a villain, no matter what, because they had this weird society thing going, and then it was like, oh, he did that. Well, chop his arm off, exile the whole family. It was the Waynes that went after them, but everyone was involved, of course. So it's the sort of guilty by association thing. Like every other family is definitely guilty, but obviously it was the Waynes that had like the main drive to exile the other family. So I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to something extra with it. I feel like, I know it's just the simple story and that was how it all began, but I want to hear more from Theo's side, like how he feels about it, and his backstory, like how he has to or had to deal with his name being changed and it's not his real family name, and just what he grew up learning from his parents and grandparents and other family members. I want to know his side of the story and how he personally feels. Like, obviously he wants revenge, but I want to hear him talk about it, because that's going to make me enjoy his character more, is hearing his side of the story. If he gets confronted by Penguin or someone else, or he's just talking and taunting, doing an villain monologue deal, I don't care. I just want to hear him talk about how he grew up because of what the Waynes did to his family decades ago. So I definitely enjoyed it. I think it was a great spark towards something very interesting. This, well, I can't say ancient rivalry, but this really old rivalry between this family. Or, well, yeah, I guess between specifically 2 families. But like I said, I want to know what you guys thought, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.